it's a unindicted co-conspirator to this day, because the young man who had been sexually abused, who was to be the second victim, we got him psychiatric treatment and got him strong enough to be able to testify. And he testified to all the things, the ritual that had gone on before his day of reckoning, to where he was to be sacrificed himself. And it is a very precise procedure of what he eats, what he is given to drink, and that he's kept in a sedated mood condition for several days prior to the ritual. We were able to prosecute St. Joseph by using evidence, physical evidence, because he was clever enough not to give us a statement. At least the statement he gave us was innocuous. He was very clever in what he said and how he said it. But one of the things we were able to do is corroborate the two young men, and with physical evidence. One, for example, we rolled that new rug back and the new carpeting, pulled it back, did a luminol check on the premises, and there was blood everywhere. And when we did the luminol examination of the premises, we found the kind of blood that we expected to find. Because as I told you, the body was almost devoid of blood. And we knew that wherever this had taken place, there had to be a lot of blood. So in the cracks and crevices of the hardwood floor beneath the carpeting, even there were small blood spatterings on the walls, the lower part of the French doors, despite the fact of a thorough cleanup that had been ordered by St. Joseph after they disposed of the body. They deliberately picked and carefully picked the John Doe 60 and the young man who was to be the second victim. And we were told that this is the habit. Nobody's going to ever look for these people. They're the kinds of people, and there are lots of them around nowadays, where people drifters, people don't have any real ties, and they were able to lure both the John Doe 60 and the other intended victim with the lure of drugs. There were a great deal of drugs, and they were very plentiful. And that was one of the lures that they were able to entice young men to these areas to look them over to see if they were possible suitable characters to be persons to be sacrificed.
What was the sentence for St. Joseph, and how is that all going?
His appeal has been, St. Joseph's sentence he was convicted of first-degree murder, and his sentence was life without possibility of parole, and it is going fine. His case has been upheld all the way up the line. So it was a successful prosecution, good solid evidence, and it all helped to solve that case with some patrol officers being really sharp and following through on something that they saw that was unusual, and not discounting a person as being just a crazy, drunk, hyped up kid. That they took the time to say, hey, wait a minute, it's too many unusual things going on here. Let's if we don't know, let us call somebody who may know. And then by doing that, they gave us the lead that we needed to break that case. On ritualistic, satanic, cult kinds of crimes, you'll see a lot of unexplained behavior. Try not to rationalize it off as being just a bunch of kooks or just a bunch of druggies. Investigate, talk to people, identify people who are there. Ask those persons who appear to be really loaded, book them as drunk, book them as under the influence, call the detectives and ask. Look for unusual kinds of weapons, unusual kinds of cuts or wounds. And for example, a single wound, none of the wounds when you looked at the body of John Doe 60, just as a layperson, none of these wounds would kill him. Even the carving of the pentagram into his chest, he'd bleed, but this wouldn't kill him. And there was the fact that you have a dead body and there's no there's no blood. There's some blood on the body, but there's no blood in and around the scene. Secondary scenes, because they've got to get rid of the body. They've got to get rid of it somehow. So we have to be very aware of anything unusual. Follow through on it. Call in help. Don't be embarrassed to say, hey, look, I don't quite know what's going on here. Call in the detectives, and they, in turn, for investigators, call in experts who know how to deal, who recognize some of these things. But one of the things you will see quite frequently, though, they do leave their mark. For example, the upside down pentagram on John Doe 60's chest. We've had several other cases where we're dealing with the ritualistic in the Golden Gate Park. This case was never solved, but this young woman was in the middle of a circle, and all around her were pentagrams painted on the trees with her blood and painted on rocks. They display the body in certain ways. If the body appears to have some ornamentation on it that doesn't fit, for example, maybe some beads or some kind of pin or pendant that doesn't fit the rest of their clothing. There's a case I can call several years ago where the body was found, and this would be a different ritualistic group, for example. The body was in a circle, the head was decapitated, there were feathers sticking in the exposed part of the neck, and all around the body was corn, kernels of corn. And we later learned that this was a part of a sanctifying of a cauldron by killing an individual, by sacrificing an individual. Though, by the way, the head did turn up. We were told by experts that it would turn up. Now, this came out of a whole different part of the society, but it's still a different kind of ritual, where many times there's a big controversy in some parts of the country now as to whether or not to allow the religious use of animals. And I think the Santerias did win that case, that they can use animals in their religion. Well, you'll see things like this. Don't be alarmed, just document it well. Document it very well. Know who's involved, and recognize it when you see it. And probably the grave robbing is what most patrol officers are going to run. They're going to run into grave robbing, stealing ornaments from churches. You start getting a rash of stealing, because they have to have, sometimes they want to get, even though they're satanics, they have to get something that's blessed. So there'll be church robberies. So if you start getting a series of church robberies, or any church robbery where the motive is not totally monetary gain, it's some kind, relics are missing, like chalices and different religious ceremony items. Look for that. Other things I can think of now is that they also deal with certain animal horns and parts and stuff like that, certain statuaries that you'll find on a premises, and the bodies that appear to be part goat, part human, all in a man, part man in body, and you'll see lots of candles. They use lots of candles of different colors and stuff like that. But there are a number of experts around who study this phenomenon, and as I said, based on my experience and studying, particularly with the St. Joseph case and a couple other cases that have had some dabblers around, we capture that material, read it, learn about them. It's just like any other part of our society. It's here, and we as law enforcement officers will deal with it. We have to deal with it. And the best way to deal with any problem is to understand it.
In investigating homicides, there are some very obvious ritualistic markings that will appear on a body that is the result of satanic killings. But some of the markings are a little more subtle. And so what we're going to do is give you an illustration of this on our model, and also retrace some of the markings that were in the St. Joseph's case. You'll note on our model that there's oftentimes a cut that goes from behind the ear all the way down to the throat. You'll also notice that on the carotid, this right here would be cut where the blood would have been drained, and oftentimes there's wax laid on it to cover it up afterwards, after the body has deceased. They will also put wax over the eyelids after they're deceased, and so those would be some of the head markings that would indicate a ritualistic killing. Another area that's obvious in these kinds of ritualistic carvings would be the pentagram, or the inverted pentagram, on the right and the left side of the upper chest. This oftentimes is the signature of the high priest. Another area that you might find satanic ritual carving is in the stomach area. And as was true in the St. Joseph's case, the pentagram, or the inverted pentagram, was carved right here in his abdomen area. And you'll note again the points representing again the goat's head. Another area we'll want to note is the foot area. And right here behind the ankle bone, there is oftentimes an incision, just as our markings would indicate. And beyond that, on the bottom of the foot, they will sometimes cut the flesh and peel it back. And so you'll also note that. Another thing that is oftentimes done in ritualistic homicides is a penis is placed inside the mouth of the deceased person. Now, as you look at the body of a person such as this, please note each and every one of these markings. You might just see one of the markings. It could be just the carotid, or it might be just the marks behind the ankle, or as obvious as the pentagram. But whatever it is, if you look just a little bit deeper, ask a few more questions, and note to the investigators more information, it could lead to the solution of other crimes that have been just passively sitting on the desk without any clues. Maybe you think your community is immune to these satanic crimes. Well, it's not. The next victim might show up tomorrow on the beat. It could be in your community, or it could be in a major city or a small rural area. Could be a member of your family. Could be someone you know. I challenge you to investigate each crime just a little bit deeper. Let's stop this heinous crime that's going on in the name of the devil. Let's stop it before it takes another victim. Let's stop the Richard Ramirez's and the Clifford St. Josephs before they kill one more innocent person.